So, let's get right into it. Have you ever been walking through a city and it just hits you? How is it that in a place with millions of us living, practically on top of each other, the lines between wealth and poverty can feel like actual, concrete walls? Why are our cities, which are supposed to be our shared homes, so incredibly divided?
Just look at this picture. It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? We're all walking the same streets, sharing the same space, but while our paths might cross for a moment, it feels like our lives are running on completely separate, parallel tracks. We're going to dig into exactly how that happens.
All right, so first, let's talk about what we can all see with our own eyes. We're going to break down those divisions that are right there in front of us every single day, the ones that really define what it's like to live in a city today. I mean, we've all seen this, right? A brand new, gleaming glass tower casting this huge shadow over older, maybe more rundown housing just a street over. And here's the most important thing to get. This is not an accident. It's not just some random thing that happened over time. It's the result of a system that was actually designed to work this way. Okay, so to really get how we got here, we've got to go back, way back. Let's rewind the clock to the very birth of the modern city to see how its DNA was first put together. The sociologist Henri Lefebvre, he kind of breaks this massive change down for us into three big periods. First, you had the peasant era, where pretty much everything in society revolved around farming. Then came the absolute game changer, the industrial era. This is what pulled millions of people out of the countryside and into the cities. And that leads us to where we are now, the urban era, where the city's way of life, its whole culture, basically dominates everything, even if you live out in the country. And the engine behind all of this is a process we call urbanization. Now, what's so interesting about this definition from another sociologist, Manuel Castells, is that it's not just about, packing more people and buildings into one place. It's also about the spread of a totally new culture, a new way of living and thinking that starts in the city and just radiates outward. So, let's take a closer look at how this new industrial city was actually put together, both physically and socially. Because, believe it or not, the blueprint they created back then, we're still living in it today. And this photo, wow, it just captures that exact moment perfectly. This is New York City around 1910. You can practically feel the energy, the noise, the chaos. This is the industrial city being born. It was a magnet for anyone and everyone looking for work. But with all that energy came these incredibly crowded neighborhoods and a whole new social ladder. And I mean, everything changed. The whole rhythm of life, which used to be guided by the seasons or the church bell, was now set by the factory clock. And for the first time ever for most people, where you lived and where you worked were two totally separate places. But here's the big one. Land in the city stopped being just a place to live. It became a commodity, something to be bought, sold, and profited from. And that created a brand new map of the city, with exclusive neighborhoods for the rich over here and packed tenements for the workers over there. Okay, so we've established that the city is divided. But how does that actually happen? What are the gears of the machine, the invisible forces that are building these walls and making sure they stay up?
I mean, it's a totally fair question, right? It seems so obvious. If you can afford the rent or the mortgage, you should be able to live there. Simple. But the reality, well, it's way more complicated than just the price tag.
The fancy term for this whole process is social segregation. And all it really means is that people get sorted across the city based on things like how much money they have, their education, or their social class. It's the process that creates rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods.
Now, this right here is a really, really important distinction to make. Segregation isn't the same experience for everyone. For the wealthy, it's often a choice. Sociologists sometimes call it auto-segregation. Choosing to move into a gated community or a fancy condo building to be around people who are, well, just like you. But for the poor, it is almost always imposed. It's not a choice at all. It's what happens when you're pushed into the less desirable, under-resourced parts of town by forces you can't control.
So, what's one of the biggest forces pushing people around? It boils down to this economic idea called differential rent. The concept's actually pretty simple. A piece of land in a city has zero value on its own. Its value comes entirely from its location. Think about it, right? A plot of land suddenly becomes way more valuable if a new subway stop opens on the corner, or if there's a great school nearby, or even a new Whole Foods. It's all about location, location, location.
And here's the punchline. As a neighborhood gets better services and infrastructure, its value shoots through the roof. The prices go up, and that systematically pushes working-class families and the poor right out. It forces them into other areas with worse infrastructure, fewer services, and not as many opportunities. The city, quite literally, sorts people by price.
So if we're saying this system is designed, then who are the designers? Let's take a look at the key players who are shaping this divided landscape, and let's ask the most important question of all. Who's benefiting from this arrangement?
You can really break it down into three main groups that shape our cities. First, you've got the real estate market. It's driven by profit, so naturally it's going to build housing and shopping for the people who can pay top dollar. Then you have the state, the government. It creates the rules of the game, zoning laws, tax policies, where to build highways, and those rules often end up benefiting landowners and big developers. And finally, you have the excluded social classes. They're not passive victims, they're left to navigate this system, constantly fighting for and carving out places to live, often in the parts of the city that have been left behind.
And all of this brings us to one final really crucial thought. The idea that our cities are designed to be unequal isn't just depressing, it's also weirdly a source of hope. Why? Because if these divisions were created by human choices, by policies, by economic systems, well, that means they aren't permanent. It means that if we make different choices and set different priorities, we can also start to undesign them. We can start to build cities that are genuinely more fair and just for every single person who lives in them. So the real question isn't if we can redesign our cities, it's how are we going to choose to do it.